Good evening. Our first speaker will be Dr. Brunel.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for coming to the public hearing for the FY18 budget for the Auburn Public Schools. As this image depicts, this effort in creating a budget, just as in all efforts that we undertake in the Auburn Public Schools, requires teamwork. It requires visions and goal, hard work, staying focused on a strategic plan, and developing a mission and staying with that. It also includes our shared core values, and these have been developed when we reviewed our strategic plan and came up with a new one back in November of 2013. So in looking at these, we have student-centered decision-making, high expectations for all of our environments are safe and respectful, we respond to needs based on data, equitable opportunities for all, and we are dedicated to continuous improvement. Just as we have done since 2008, those core values, as well as our mission and vision, drove our decisions, but we regularly ask the question, how will this impact students and their achievement? You see here the strategic plan of the Auburn Public Schools. As noted, this began back in November of 2013 when over 120 school and community members, as well as students, joined together in the cafeteria of this school to answer the question, what do we need to do to ensure that our students continue to be ready to embrace the opportunities and challenges of a changing world? We started off by identifying 5 overarching goals of the strategic plan: teaching and learning, health, wellness, and safety, transitions, technology, and community partnerships. This budget that you will hear the administrators present this evening address each of those goals. With regard to student safety, you will see that we have increased our funding to support district-wide safety measures as recommended by our safety advisory team, which is comprised of police, fire, school representatives, as well as our building inspector. It also addresses the social and emotional social emotional needs of our students. We will see that will be consulting with a psychiatrist as well as additional school psychologist support. In terms of students' physical safety, we're adding hours to our athletic trainer to be sure that our students are supported when they are practicing or competing athletically. And as for students' IEPs, their individual education plans, it provides for ABA, Applied Behavioral Analysis, or IA support. With regard to student achievement, you will see that we seek to add a new STEM teacher at Auburn Middle School, a STEM math teacher. We're expanding our early college opportunities for those students at high school through our current collaboration with Quinsigamond Community College. We're also seeking to expand our preschool program. The research is very clear that the sooner that we can help support our students at an earlier age, the less likely they are to need special education, but also the more likely they are to be able to excel along with their peers. And then also IA and ABA support. We have a unified sports program. It started with bocce, then to track, and now basketball, and some of our most special students compete athletically against peers across Central Mass. In terms of class size, it addresses that issue as well. Modifying the middle school schedule with the addition of a STEM math will reduce those class sizes and also help us to maintain elementary levels that are below 25, a goal of the school committee. In terms of technology, we currently have a 1-to-1 environment at grades 6 through 12, 1-to-2 at grades 3 to 5, and 4 iPad carts at our primary schools. We are nearing the end of our lease, and with that, it's going to allow for an infusion of iPads at the elementary level. You will hear, or if you listen to any of the presentations with school committee, technology plays a big part in what we do. Additionally, in terms of textbooks, we always want to make sure that our students have the most appropriate and current materials before them, and the focus in FY18 will be on science textbooks, but also in updating any that we may need to add to based on student enrollment. And in terms of educator evaluation, Learning Walks is an initiative that we've undertaken this year and have selected 2 schools to pilot this, and the goal really is to calibrate our practice in making sure that we elevate the practice of our teachers across the district. In terms of professional development, we use funds very strategically to support a dynamic program because we need to, if we expect our students to stay on the cutting edge, we need to be sure that our teachers, administrators, and staff are likewise on that cutting edge. And then the strategic plan implementation. There is evidence of that throughout this budget, just as there has been for the past 4 years. So some assumptions that were made in the development of this budget, we always use our October 1st counts. And at that time, we had 2,520 students in the Auburn Public Schools. That number has changed somewhat, slightly up or down, depending on students moving in or moving out of town. We've also used anticipated grant funds, primarily from the 240, the Title I and Title IIA grants, all done in an effort to reduce our operating budget. We have projected Medicaid reimbursement at the $160,000 level. That is exactly what we have this year. Circuit breaker reimbursement being at 60%, which is currently an unknown from the government, but that seems to be a safe number. And then maintenance of school choice at our current levels, which is 41 at the high school and 20 at Auburn Middle. Additionally, we placed all of our IAs and ABAs where they are currently, but obviously those will move. They move along with students. Their goal is to address the students' needs. And as we did this current school year, we have budgeted for 11 regular ed school buses, and we've already had the bus applications out. We have used an offset of $88,000 in bus fees that we will collect from families, and we've used offsets in our building rental satellite, Galaxy, preschool, athletic revolving, as well as our special education revolving account as well. So in terms of new staffing, we are looking for overall 6 full-time equivalent staffing positions. As mentioned earlier, we are looking to expand our preschool program, which will require a preschool teacher, an IA, as well as an ABA. We are seeking to try and minimize, if not remove, financial barriers for families whose children might otherwise not have been able to send them to preschool. We're looking for a middle school STEM math teacher, an ABA, which will go to support a student going into kindergarten at Bryn Mawr, and another one to go to a student at Pack, for the total of 6.0 FTEs, a total of $191,557. So in total, the budget before you this evening is for $24,981,761, which represents an increase of $1,076,555, or 4.5%, over the current approved amount. Important to note, Governor Baker's budget, which came out end of January, includes an increase of $142,725 in Chapter 70 funding for Auburn, and that Chapter 70 funding is directed for schools. That amount, the $1,042,000, is just $33,000 less than the amount of the increase that's being requested by the school committee and leadership team. Also important to note, work on the budget is far from over. The House and Senate continue their deliberations, and hopefully, Senator Moore was recently at a school committee meeting. By sometime in June, hopefully they will have agreement on that. But generally speaking, when I look back historically, the governor's budget generally has the lowest amount for Chapter 70 allotments, at least in terms of across the Commonwealth. The original budget that the leadership team brought before the school committee and received the unanimous support was actually a 3% increase, or an increase of $717,183. What happened in January is the need for some potential unanticipated out-of-district placements, and that increased the budget by an additional $359,000, bringing us to the total of a 4.5% budget. Important to note, though, is the Mass General Law, 71B, Sections 2 through 6, which deal with special education services for students, states in there that districts are obligated to provide students with educational services in the least restrictive environment, which is, in most cases, in the district itself. And I can tell you that the Auburn Public Schools has a long history of taking this responsibility very seriously. We develop programs as needed. We provide students with IA or ABA support. We even this year, with the support of town meeting, brought in a teacher of the visually impaired and a brailleist to work with students in our schools. So we have made a commitment to doing that. What happened of late, though, is some students whose needs could not be appropriately met, at least for the time being, in the Auburn Public Schools. And with that, back up to MGL 71B sections 2 through 6, the school committee then has an obligation to pay for a placement that could be at a collaborative program, could be at a private day, or could be at a residential program. Our goal will remain to bring these children back when and if we are able to appropriately address their needs. In total, we have offsets that total $2,602,520, all done in an effort to minimize the impact of the FY18 budget. I thank all of the members up here before you this evening of the leadership team as well as the school committee, because it really is the combined efforts of all involved in working towards addressing our common interest, which is the success of our students. There has been, this is my 9th presentation of a budget, and I can state unequivocally, and with the school committee and leadership team here, that there has been an ongoing effort to work collaboratively with the town. We are part of a whole, but we also want to stay committed to our mission, which is to educate and prepare students for the opportunities and challenges of a changing world. Here is a bulletin board, or a board that's on display each spring at Auburn High School. And as it says on there, onward and upward. We recognize that students, we have them but for a short period of time, 12 to 15 years, depending on when they start with us. But we believe in our responsibility to provide the very best for them each and every day that we can, so that when they leave our doors, they are able to excel and succeed in whatever they choose to do beyond graduation. Keeping the process open, another commitment of the school committee and leadership team. So we mailed invitations to all town meeting members, members of the finance committee, the board of selectmen, as well as the town's administration, and hosted it as an open meeting. Our goal is to provide opportunities for people to ask questions so that they feel comfortable when they vote town meeting members back in May. The administrators' budget presentations are on the website. They have been since their presentation. The website is, regularly updated. And we also have a Q&A section on there for the FY18 budget, where any member of the community or any person looking at the budget can type in a question. It will be answered by a district staff member. All of this is done in an effort to make sure that we have a transparent budgeting process. So this evening, the process will be Mr. Stencil. I thank him for being here this evening as our moderator. The administrators will read aloud each of the line items in their respective budgets. If you have any question on an item, please just call out hold, and Mr. Stencil will return to you at the end of the program. So in closing, before I turn it over, a quote by Ralph Marston says, "Excellence is not a skill, it is an attitude." And we are a district that is committed to educational excellence and continuous improvement. And as a team, we commit to doing everything that we can to maintain that excellence, not only in terms of achievement, but also student safety at the forefront of our decision making. So I thank you again for being here, and I will turn it back over to you, Mr. Stencil.
The high school principal, Mr. Hanfield, will give the first presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Principal, assistant principal, $229,805. Secretaries, $114,831.70. Instructional staff, special education, $442,006. Instructional staff, regular education, $3,535,494. Specialists, $474,025. Library, $86,219. Guidance, $378,580.40. Guidance secretary, $37,746. Instructional assistant, special education, $124,783.12. EBAs, $150,064.20. In-school suspension monitor, $31,500. Custodians, $319,193.68. Nurses, $63,558.15. Contracted services, $129,939.88, with an anticipated offset of $113,899.88, for an FY18 adjusted rate of $16,040. Substitutes, $57,100. total payroll, $6,174,846.13, with offsets of $113,899.88 for a total payroll of $6,060,946.25. Building support costs, postage $2,500, principal's office supplies $1,179.94, printing supplies $16,000, principal's dues $5,499, principal's professional development $5,500, commencement $15,419, classroom supplies $23,860, 504 supplies $250, art supplies $4,675, staff travel $500, library supplies $10,000, AV supplies $1,190, guidance supplies $10,054, wood tech supplies $5,940, graphic supplies $9,129.82, athletic physical education classroom supplies $3,725, music and fine arts classroom supplies $4,025, curriculum competitions $15,660, awards $2,460, fuel, oil, and propane $80,000, electrical $200,000. Oh, excuse me, let me back up to fuel, oil, and propane. $80,000 with a $5,000 offset for a total FY18 adjusted rate of $75,000. Electrical $100,000 with an offset of $42,500 for an FY18 adjusted rate of $157,500. Water $9,000. Sewage $6,000 with an offset of $1,000 for an FY18 adjusted rate of $5,000. Telephone $12,200. Building repair and maintenance $85,000 with an anticipated offset of $25,000 for an FY18 adjusted rate of $60,000. Field maintenance $10,000, anticipated offset $10,000, FY18 adjused rate 0. Custodial supplies $12,000. Total support costs $551,766.76, with anticipated offsets of $83,500 for a total FY18 adjusted rate of $468,266.76. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. Thank you. Were there any questions? We'll go with Mr. Gagnon now from the middle school.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Principal and assistant principal, $208,532. Secretaries, $111,604. Instructional staff, special education, $416,954. Regular instructional staff, $2,338,600 with an offset of $51,762 for an FY adjusted rate of $2,286,838. Specialists, $445,019. Guidance, $256,343. Instructional assistants, special education, $183,955. Instructional assistants, regular education, $157,986. ABAs, $157,986. ELL tutor, $23,771. Nurse, $63,558. Guidance, custodians, $205,491. Contracted services, which include longevity stipends, building tech coordinator, and other, $66,329 with an anticipated offset of $52,183 for an adjusted rate of $14,146. Subs, which include teachers, instructional assistants, SPED teachers, and SPED instructional assistants, $38,000. New math STEM teacher, $53,112. Expanded after-school program, non-athletic, $5,000. Total payroll, $4,754,255, with an offset of $103,945 for a FY adjusted rate of $4,470,310. Building support costs, postage $3,000, principal office supplies $1,002, printing supplies $14,912, principal dues $1,230, principal and assistant principal professional development $3,000, commencement $4,100, classroom supplies $18,402, 504 supplies $250, staff travel $500, library supplies and books $3,368, audiovisual supplies $1,808, guidance supplies $1,983, art supplies $2,950, PE, athletic supplies $1,048, music supplies $5,227, awards and incentives $1,140, propane fuel $66,250 with an anticipated offset of $8,000 for an FY18 adjusted rate of $58,250, electrical $195,000 with an anticipated offset of $195,000 with an FY adjusted rate of 0, water $5,050, sewage $5,000 with an offset of $500 with an FY adjusted rate of $4,500, telephone $7,050, building maintenance and repair $70,000 with an offset of $25,000, an FY18 adjusted rate of $45,000. Custodial costs $9,000, total support costs $421,270 with an offset of $228,500 for an FY adjusted rate of $192,770. Total building costs $4,995,525 with an anticipated offset of $332,445 with an adjusted rate of $4,663,063.80. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Gagnon. No questions? Ms. Lopez, please.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Principal and assistant principal, $203,200. Secretary, $69,660. Instructional staff, special education, $341,972. Instructional staff, regular education, $1,765,330. Specialists, $589,863. Guidance, $127,484. Instructional assistants, special education, $277,969. Instructional assistants, regular education, $38,086. ABAs, $111,983. ELL tutors, $48,492. Math paras, $76,986 with an offset of $38,493 with an adjusted rate of $38,493. Custodians, $135,616. Nurses, $105,558. Contract services, including longevity stipends, grade level leaders, building tech coordinator stipend, totaling $26,623. Substitutes, which include teachers, instructional assistants, special education teachers, and special education assistants, $51,500. Total payroll, $3,969,523 with an offset of $38,493, totaling the adjusted rate of $3,931,030. Building support costs, postage $600, principal's office supplies $3,500, printing supplies $15,000, principal's dues $1,500, principals and assistant principals professional development $3,000, classroom supplies $20,500, 504 supplies $500, staff travel $100. Textbooks, $5,500. Library supplies and books, $2,500. Audiovisual supplies, $3,000. Guidance supplies, $1,000. Art supplies, $2,000. Athletic and PE classroom, $8,000. Music classroom supplies, $1,500. After-school programs, $12,500. Fuel, oil, and propane, $35,000 with an offset of $10,000 with the 18 adjusted rate of $25,000. Electrical, $68,000 with an offset of $21,700 with the adjusted rate of $46,300. Water, $6,600 with an offset of $1,000 with the FY18 adjusted rate of $5,600. Sewage, $5,100 with an offset of $1,000 with the adjusted rate being $4,100. Telephone, $3,200. Building repair and maintenance, $30,000 with an offset of $12,000 with the adjusted 18 rate being $18,000. Custodial supplies, $10,000. Total support costs, $238,600 with an offset of $45,700 with the 18 adjusted rate of $192,900. Total building costs, $4,208,123. The total offset, $84,193 with the 18 adjusted rate being $4,123,930. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Moderator.
Okay, the next one will be the Packagug School.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Principal, $97,850. Secretary, $34,830. Special education instructional staff, $160,726. Regular education instructional staff, $794,154. Specialists, $194,246. Media technology specialist, $43,109. School counselor, $72,169. Custodians, $91,788. Special education instructional assistants, $118,848. Regular education instructional assistants, $106,557. Math paraprofessional, $19,826. Visually impaired paraprofessional, $24,600. ELL tutor, $23,771. Nurse, $49,604. Contracted services, which include longevity stipends, building tech coordinator stipends, teacher in charge, for $11,520. Subs, which include teachers, instructional assistants, special education teachers, and special education instructional assistants, for $16,000. A new ABA for $23,094. After-school programming, $3,000, for a total payroll of $1,885,696. Building support costs, which include postage, $500. Principal's office supplies, $2,000. Printing supplies, $4,700. Principal dues, $625. Principal's professional development, $1,500. Classroom supplies, $12,655. 504 supplies, $250. Staff travel, $100. Textbooks, $1,000. Library supplies and books, $1,000. Audiovisual supplies, $1,700. Guidance supplies, $500. Art supplies, $1,000. Athletic and PE supplies, $750. Music classroom supplies, $750. Fuel, oil, and propane, $22,500 with an offset of $5,500 for an adjusted rate of $17,500. Electrical, $30,000 with an offset of $11,000 for an adjusted rate of $19,000. Water, $3,300 with an offset of $500 for an adjusted rate of $2,800. Sewerage, $2,300 with a $500 offset for an adjusted rate of $1,800. Telephone, $1,800. Building repair and maintenance, $20,000 with an offset of $5,500 for an adjusted rate of $14,500. Custodial supplies, $4,500 for a total support cost of $113,430 for an adjusted rate of $90,930. Total building costs, $1,999,120 with $23,000 offset for an adjusted rate of $1,976,626. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. Ms. Chamberlain?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Principal, $110,000. Secretary, $34,830. Instructional staff, special education, $488,269 with an offset of $121,678 for an FY18 adjusted rate of $366,591. Instructional staff, regular education, $772,614. School counselor, $61,945. Specialists, $194,246. Media technology teacher, $43,109. Instructional assistant, special education, $261,163 with an offset of $55,248 for an FY adjusted rate of $205,915. Instructional assistants, regular education, $105,729. Math paraprofessionals, $58,311 with an offset of $38,874 for an adjusted rate of $19,437. ELL tutor, $23,771. ABAs, $193,704. Custodians, $91,788. Nurses, $92,901. Contracted services including longevity stipends, teacher in charge, building tech coordinator stipends, $8,445. Subs including the following teachers, instructional assistants, special education teachers, and special ed instructional assistants, $25,000. New positions, 2 additional ABAs, $46,189. A pre-K instructional assistant, $17,326, and a pre-K teacher, $51,834. After-school programming, $3,000. Total payroll, $2,684,177, with total offsets of $215,800 for an FY adjusted total of $2,468,377. Building support costs, principal office supplies, $2,000, postage, $500, principal professional development, $1,500, principal dues, $625, classroom supplies, $12,730, printing supplies, $5,150, staff travel, $100, textbooks, $1,000, library supplies and books, $1,000, audiovisual supplies, $1,700, guidance supplies, $500, 504 supplies, $250, art supplies, $1,000, athletic PE classroom supplies, $750, music classroom supplies, $750, fuel oil propane, $21,390 with an offset of $5,500 for an FY18 adjusted amount of $15,890. Electrical, $31,000 with an offset of $11,150 for an adjusted total of $19,850. Water, $7,500. Sewage, $3,700 with an offset of $500 for an adjusted total of $3,200. Telephone, $875. Building repair and maintenance, $10,000 with offsets of $5,500 for an adjusted rate of $4,500. Custodial supplies, $4,500. Total support costs, $108,520. Total offsets, $23,150 for an adjusted total of $85,870. Total building costs, $2,792,697. Offsets of $238,950 for an FY18 adjusted amount of $2,554,247. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. Next will be athletics, music, and fine arts.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Athletic Director, $50,000 with anticipated offset of $50,000, FY adjusted rate, 0. Secretary, $37,746. Coaches, $204,096.56. Contracted services, $500. Increase in hours for athletic trainer, $10,000. Total salary, $302,342.56, with $50,000 in anticipated offsets, for an FY18 adjusted rate of $252,342.56. Athletic support costs, AD office supplies, $460. Athletic director postage, $300. Athletic director dues, $300. High school athletics transportation, $60,000. Game management and ice time, let me back up to high school athletics transportation, $60,000, with anticipated offset of $5,000. FY18 adjusted rate, $55,000. Game management and ice time, $44,000, with an anticipated offset of $15,000. FY18 adjusted rate, $29,000. Game management, ticket takers, and officials, $14,000, with an anticipated offset of $3,500. The FY18 adjusted rate, $10,500. Coaches professional development, $2,000. Athletics reconditioning, $15,000. Middle school officials, $3,500. Middle school transportation, $5,200. Middle school equipment, $4,800. Team equipment, $25,000. Supplies, training, and first aid, $5,500. Athletic awards, $8,500. Athletic insurance, $10,500. MIAA Swickle dues, $6,500. Athletic total, $205,560. Anticipated offsets, $23,500, for an FY18 adjusted rate of $182,060. And would you like me to take the hold now? Because that's the end of athletics. Then
Yes, go ahead, Mark.
music and fine arts. Support costs, fine art office supplies department heads, $565. Fine arts travel teachers and department heads, $525. Fine arts dues department heads, $135. Transportation fine arts, $9,350. Music staff duties, $3,000. Awards and other for fine arts, $900. Fine arts equipment repair and maintenance, $4,800. Band uniforms, $2,500. Band equipment, $5,000. Music fine arts totals, $26,775. Total support costs, $232,335. With an anticipated offset of with an anticipated offset of $23,500, for a total FY18 adjusted rate $208,835. Total program costs $534,676. Let me say that again. $534,677.56. Following offsets $73,500. FY18 adjusted rate $461,177.56. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. Central Administration will be next.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Superintendent of Schools, $176,521. Administrative Assistant to the Superintendent, $63,408 with an offset of $32,000 for a fiscal 18 adjusted rate of $31,408. Assistant Superintendent, $128,000. Director of Pupil Services, $107,250. Business Manager, $107,100. Assistant Business Manager, $54,101. Secretaries, $90,009. Bookkeeper, $54,101. Technology Support Maintenance, $105,213. Director of Technology, $93,244. District Data Coordinator, $54,101. Custodian, $21,914. Math Coach, $86,219 with an offset of $51,731, which a fiscal year 18 adjusted rate of $34,488. Contracted services, which include longevity and stipends, $6,364. Total salaries, $1,147,544 with an offset of $83,731 for a fiscal year 18 adjusted rate of $1,063,812. District-wide costs, legal notices, $1,000. Census, $750. Legal services, $10,650. System-wide travel, $15,000. Teacher's salary retirement, $51,013. Crossing guards, $45,000. Transportation regular education, $714,780 with an $88,000 offset for a fiscal year 18 adjusted rate of $626,780. Transportation for community service learning, $12,000. Degree changes, $196,690. Other contractual obligations, $286,207. Site managers, $15,000. School committee costs, school committee dues at $9,000. Superintendent's costs, which include superintendent's postage, $6,500. Superintendent's supplies, $6,500. Superintendent's dues for $3,000. Superintendent's publications for $350. Business manager's costs, business manager computer supplies, $100. Business manager's office supplies, $250. Business office travel, $100. Business manager's dues, $850. Business manager's professional development, $1,500. Annual audit, $4,000.
Director of Technology costs. Director's computer supplies, $15,000 with an offset of $7,500 for an adjusted rate of $7,500. Director's professional development, $1,500. Director's dues, $769. Technician support travel, $664. Computer maintenance contracted services, $59,960 with an offset of $20,000 for an adjusted rate of $39,960. In computer software contracted services, $186,200, offset by $77,500 for an adjusted rate of $108,700.
Assistant Superintendent costs, system-wide professional development, $150,000 with an offset of $80,000 for an adjusted rate of $70,000. System-wide classroom supplies, $16,000 with an offset of $7,000 for an adjusted rate of $9,000. Substitute staff for system-wide professional development, $20,000 with an offset of $10,000 for an adjusted rate of $10,000. Assistant Superintendent's professional development, $1,500. Assistant Superintendent supplies, $1,500. Assistant Superintendent dues, $850. Assistant Superintendent's publications, $300. District-wide textbooks, $145,000. Concurrent enrollment opportunities, $30,000. English learner education costs, translators, $5,000. Teaching supplies, $5,000. Testing supplies, $2,000. And ELE staff travel, $100.
Director of Pupil Services costs, Director supplies, $1,200 with an offset of $1,200, adjusted rate 0. Staff travel, $1,000 with an offset of $1,000, adjusted rate 0. Director's Professional Development, $1,500 with an offset of $1,500 with an adjusted rate of 0. Director's dues, $850 with an offset of $850, adjusted rate 0. Health services costs. Health services contracted services, $1,000. Physician stipends, $5,000. Health services supplies, $3,500. Nurses substitutes, $9,000. Nurses conferences, $500. Nurses travel, $100. District-wide physical therapy assistant, $49,035. District-wide occupational therapist, $69,003. District-wide occupational therapy assistant, $40,873. Job coach, $43,500. District-wide school psychologist, $159,711. District-wide team chairs, $229,467. District-wide BCBA, $74,507 with an offset of $49,500. The adjusted rate, $25,007. District-wide BCABA, $36,500 with an offset of $36,500 with an adjusted rate of 0. District-wide speech therapists, $262,939. Teacher of the visually impaired, $58,481. Contracted services, which includes longevity, stipends, summer program, and beyond the school day, $59,332. New positions, social emotional support personnel, $80,000 with an offset of $80,000 with an adjusted rate of 0. Total salary, $1,163,348 with offsets of $166,000 for an adjusted rate of $997,348. Special education support costs, home hospital tutoring district-wide, $15,000 with an offset of $15,000 with an adjusted rate of 0. Contracted services for significant disabilities, $123,000 with an offset of $123,000, an adjusted rate of 0. Psychological testing services, $10,000 with an offset of $10,000, adjusted rate of 0. Classroom supplies, $12,000 with an offset of $12,000 for an adjusted rate of 0. Homeless transportation, $45,000 with an offset of $45,000, an adjusted rate of 0. Special education in-town transportation, $285,660 with an offset of $200,000 with an adjusted rate of $85,660. Non-public school transportation, $255,712 with an offset of $120,000, an adjusted rate of $135,712. Tuition for Massachusetts public schools, $25,000. Tuition for non-public schools, $885,226 with an offset of $561,566, an adjusted rate of $323,660. Tuition and special education collaboratives, $114,477, with an offset of $114,477, zero an adjusted rate. Total support cost for special education, $1,770,075, with an offset of $1,201,043, leaves an adjusted rate of $569,032. Total program special education cost, $2,933,423, with offsets of $1,367,043, an adjusted rate of $1,566,380.
Central administration building costs, electrical, $18,050 with an offset of $2,707 for a fiscal year 18 adjusted rate of $15,343. Fuel and oil, $18,390. Custodial supplies, $1,500. Building repair maintenance, $7,000. Telephone, $6,000. Total support costs for central office administration, $2,096,173 with an offset of $297,257 for a fiscal year adjusted rate of $1,798,916. Total building costs, $3,243,717 with an offset of $380,988, which gives you a fiscal year 18 adjusted rate of $2,862,728.
Facility director, $97,290. Maintenance mechanic system-wide, $22,347.68. Contracted services, which include longevity stipends, $240. Total salary, $119,877.68. Support costs, building security, $30,000. Equipment repairs, district-wide, $10,000. Equipment service contracts, district-wide, $60,000. Fire extinguisher inspection, $2,500. Maintenance staff miles, $2,000. Truck and van gas maintenance system-wide, $10,000. Custodial overtime district-wide, $10,000. Total support cost, $124,500. Total building cost district-wide, $244,377.68. Thank you, Mr. Martivin.
Mark Mall, town meeting member, is it possible to add like 5% to your budget?
To my budget? for
Yes.
Facilities?
Yes.
My budget's been pretty much gone over with a fine-tooth comb, and we feel this budget is very comfortable to support the students in the next fiscal year. So everything is pretty much where it needs to be.
Is that like the last couple of years been like the same way too? Because you do an awesome job, but just want to make sure to keep our buildings up.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, I just think you know, cost money, but I think we gotta maintain our buildings. You do it anyways, but okay, I think you need more money.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Staff more people, but okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mark. That will be the end of the public session on the school budget for fiscal year 2018. Thank you for coming.
Resume the school committee meeting. We will move on to special recognitions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So a couple of recognitions. This has become a tradition that we're sharing. Our art students, as you've seen before, continue to excel and be recognized. So most recently, Mrs. Bastian let us know that several students were selected to show their artwork at Worcester Art Museum's Youth Art Month exhibit. So congratulations to Cameron Coble, Katie Bernard, Olivia Abreski, and Genevieve Rumrow. Their families were invited to a special reception just this past weekend at the Worcester Art Museum's Higgins Educational Wing. So congratulations to all of them. Also want to share with you that Lucas Balistracci, who is a student at our Auburn Middle School, won the National Geographic Bee again and has moved on. This is his second year in a row. So congratulations to Lucas.
Any citizens' comments? Seeing none and seeing no student representatives, I would seek approval of the minutes of March 1st, 2017.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes for March 1st, 2017.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is a vote. We now move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The first item, this is an annual trip that the high school students take. It's a concluding trip that they take to Canterbury Lake Park. It is out of state. It's in New Hampshire, so it does require your approval, and I do recommend that you approve it.
I would entertain that motion.
I'll make the motion to approve the freshman class trip to Kennedy Lake Park on Friday, June 16th, 2017.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is a vote.
The next item, and I had made mention about this, as had Isabella at the most recent meeting, the Tri-M Honor Society. It was a program that actually had been in place but dormant for about 12 years. It recognized some of our most exceptional music students and noted on here were the criteria. So there were a number of things that they had to meet, and they also had to have letters of recommendation from teachers regarding music participation, their grades and scholarship, their leadership, their service, and their character. So I give hearty congratulations to all of those students, and I was fortunate enough to be there when they were inducted and they did their performances, and it really was outstanding. The next item, wanted to make you aware that a group of Taiwanese educators will be visiting the high school science department at the end of this month through Mr. Bill Wright, who was the graphic arts teacher at Auburn High and is affiliated with Worcester State University. This has been coordinated, and we look forward to their visit. Their teachers are in Taiwan of general science, chemistry, and physics. So I'm sure that we will learn from them just as much as they hope to learn from us, and they also will be visiting the Worcester schools. And I also included in your packet information that came from the Mass Association of School Committees, their weekly update back at the end of February, regarding their recommendations of the Foundation Budget Review Committee. Senator Sonia Chang Diaz has been leading this effort. There is a memo in your packet. It gives an overview and the highlights of what they are recommending. There's more information that's also available on the MASC website. And as noted on here, if you'd like me to address this, I would be certainly happy to do so with our representative and senator. And if you recall, Senator Moore made reference to it when he was with us at the last meeting, that he is in support of the Foundation Budget Commission recommendations.
Thank you. Any comments? Okay, we now move on to unfinished business.
So as part of the FY18 budget presentation, I wanted to share with you, Mr. Kazanovich had requested some information, and we have shared it with him, some that Mrs. Worsbicky put together and some that Mrs. Zonder and or myself put together. So he was looking to see what increases we had in FTEs, the full-time equivalents, over the past number of years, starting from 2010. So we've included that in your packet, and also a narrative that explains why they were needed. In many regards, they were needed to fulfill students' IEPs. Numerous of them are special education related. We also had some requirements in terms of the state mandate for ELL, or English Language Learner students. As you know, we've been expanding our preschool programming, so it outlines it here. The other item that Mr. Kazanovich was looking to see was an enrollment projection, and we did not go out and pay for this. What we did is we used the information that we had currently and then looked historically. Typically, this past school year, we had 95 students enrolling kindergarten at Packagug and 100 at Bryn Mawr. So we used those same numbers and carried them out. We also used the same numbers for students going to Bay Path on an annual basis. All of those obviously can fluctuate somewhat, but as you can see, our numbers this year being 25-20, they look as though they're going to be taking a slight dip before they start resuming back up. But all of that is predicated on things in town not changing, no new housing developments, things that we really cannot predict at this time, but just wanted to share with you what we had provided to them. Since we have had the public hearing, it is my recommendation that you approve the FY18 budget at the $24,981,760.78 as just presented to you by the leadership team.
I would entertain that motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the FY 2018 school department budget of $24,981,760.78 as per the public hearing in March 2017.
Right. Any comments, questions?
No, I just like to thank all the people involved with the budget this year for doing a great job.
Thank you. Yes, thanks to the leadership team for coming to the public hearing and those who were in attendance at the public hearing. Thank you so much. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is a vote.
I did just want to, through the chair, remind everyone that Mrs. Worsbicky and I will be attending the Finance Committee meeting a week from tonight to present the budget as you've just voted. I also, as regard to the last meeting, there was a question that had come up regarding a potential 300-unit housing development. So I did meet with Mr. Matt Benoit, the town planner, and included in your packet is a summary. And as you can see, this project first came on the books, or potential project came on the books back in 2007, was going to be a 300-house subdivision. It was actually going to be in Oxford. And then in 2008 was going to be 26 single-family development in Auburn. So then the project lay dormant until the late summer and early fall of 2016. So as you can see here, what has progressed since that time, that there is a new subdivision plan for a dead-end cul-de-sac with 2 empty lots on 60 acres. When the new company came forward at their first public meeting, it was stated at that time, but that this may be the first phase of a 300-unit 40B apartment complex. But currently the plan has not evolved to that. It is no longer going to cross into Oxford and past wetlands. They're no longer showing houses in Oxford, so they shrunk the road to 750 feet. That was a request. Right now, what is showing is 4 single-family homes. This entity did withdraw their application in Oxford. The project is still before the Auburn Planning Board. It has been peer-reviewed. Conservation Commission approved the project on March 8th. And important to note is that any modification to the plan, which is 4 single-family homes now, would require it to go back to the Planning Board and start the process over, unless they go for state approval for 40B housing. And as Mr. Benoit indicated to me, there is currently no indication that an application has been filed. But if the state does approve a 40B plan, it would no longer require Planning Board approval. Now it would go before the Zoning Board of Appeals. What Mr. Benoit shared is that a 40B project would require public hearings under Mass General laws, and that the process with the state is a 1 to 3 year process, and that they would require locally a pro forma, which would require that studies be done to include what would be the impact to schools, likely impact to traffic, and other such things. So I wanted to provide you an update of where the project currently stands.
Any comments, questions?
Yes, if I could make a comment?
Gail?
I just saw in the paper the transfer of land, you know how they use the transfers of land in Auburn, and they just transferred 3 800,000 parcels to the one entity that has this land development. So $2,400,000 worth of land has been sold and consolidated under one owner on that Tinker Hill area. So I think something in the future will be coming. I mean, why would you buy all that land if you're not going to do something with it? So it's good that the planning board will keep us informed, and because that could certainly affect the schools.
Thank you for that update. Wayne?
I would just like to see, since, this is going to devastate our schools and stuff, if this project continues on the path that it's going, and 40B is really hard to put a stop to, but if it can be done, I think, I don't know everything about it at this point. I know about the old one that they were trying to do partly in Oxford and partly in Auburn, and I disagree with that, and I voice my opinion as a resident of the town. And I don't see really much difference here, except now you're going to have more houses in Auburn, and you're not going to have any in Oxford. So it's definitely going to devastate the town of Auburn. You get 300 houses up there, and we're going to have to build more schools. I mean, and the thing is, too, is I've seen a lot of surveys done over the years, over and over again. And even when you get like Mass Highway and stuff like that, they do all these surveys, and a lot of these surveys don't show the true color of what's actually going on. Especially when you're living in a town, you understand what's going on. I mean, I even seen traffic counts they have, they count them for a few days and bingo, it's done. Well, this is what we got. And it doesn't work that way. And if anybody thinks our school system can handle 300 houses in the very near future, it just can't be done. Unless they're going to pay big money to the school department or build new schools, but they're not going to want to do that. And it's really troublesome that they can go to a project 40B and get away from the planning board and just have to go to the zoning board. And I'm very disappointed that the Conservation Commission already has approved it as far as they're going. But I mean, I wish that the school committee would have been involved or be told by somebody before it was asked by one of our members to look into it. Because this is a devastating thing, and that's what we're here for, is to teach our kids that we need to protect what we have and work what we got now. So you can imagine the devastation of adding 300 houses. And I will, as a school committee member, will stay on top of it. We'll be going to the planning board meetings and talk on behalf of it as a resident, or if I get the okay from the school department, with further conversation first, to make a statement there, I will. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I could add one more thing. I pulled out a map because I knew where Tinker Hill was, but I wasn't sure where the whole Tinker Hill Road went. And it basically is the land across the street from, I'm going to say Ronnie's Clam Bar, and it goes behind, Tinker Hill Road goes behind all the businesses on Route 20 at that point, and behind the Harley Davidson place, and that whole area, evidently that's just all empty forest land. And that whole road runs all that way. So that's the land they're talking about developing. And the only other way to get into that road is Albert Street, which now has a light there because it's across from Hill Street with it, and Maple Ave, which is a short street that runs like right near the elderly life care. It goes up quick, and that turns into Tinker Hill Road. So that would be your entrance and exit as of right now.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, thanks for that update. And we now move on to the Packagug Accelerated.
So just a quick synopsis, Mrs. Worsbicky put together in terms of the timeline, and as you can see, the general bids deadline submission is the 23rd. Bids will be opened that day at 1, so that we will have that projected cost to share with town meeting on the night of March 28th, our special town meeting.
And we now move on to new business.
As noted in here, both Mrs. Worsbicky and Mrs. Reedy, our Director of Pupil Services, have been considering joining the Assabet Valley Collaborative, which includes a number of communities here, including Lancaster, Bolton, Stowe, Millbury, Southborough, Westborough, Shrewsbury, Northborough, Marlborough, Boylston, Hudson, Berlin, Maynard, and Grafton. The benefit of this, we have some students who are receiving some services at this program, and we've also been using on a pilot basis the clinical meetings with the psychiatrists there. By joining this, we would use grant funds to do so. It would actually reduce those costs. Wachusett is in the process of becoming a member. I will be attending a board meeting on March 24th. That's part of the process. If ultimately they agree to have us join it, I do think it would give us some additional options and certainly some cost savings. It would then need to go back and be voted by each of those school committees. But we do intend to continue to stay with the French River Educational Collaborative as well as the Southern Worcester County Collaborative. But I just wanted to make you aware of that.
Thank you.
In terms of upcoming events, with the nor'easter that we had yesterday, Pi Day, I'm not sure if they were able to celebrate it today at Swanson Road, but we've got some field trips that are coming up. We've got father-daughter dance that's coming up, as well as some elementary events. And then looking ahead, the Harlem Wizards are going to be coming again this year, and it was to a sellout crowd last year, so look forward to that as well.
And we now move on to business and financial.
I've received the fiscal year 2016 end of the year pupil and financial report from the auditing firm of Scanlon and Associates. A copy has been provided to you in your packet, along with a memo addressing the audit findings and recommendations for your information. The findings were promptly addressed and corrected as necessary, with all documentation being submitted to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education as required prior to receiving this final report from the auditor. I can say with confidence that these necessary adjustments have improved my understanding for future reporting and will not be a concern in future audits. So I want to put that in your packet for your information. Okay. Any questions? I'll move on to the year-to-date budget report. I provided a year-to-date budget report in your packet, and I'd be happy to answer any questions on that. Additionally, I've also provided a list of transfers for informational purposes, as that they're all within the same series and do not require a vote of approval, but I wanted to make you aware of those changes that I'd like to address in the budget. Any questions? As far as the busing update, at present, the busing registrations continue to come through. They're still quite slow. We've received a total of 347 registrations as of today, which is still low. I know we have till May 1st, but I really would encourage families to get their registrations in very shortly. I know with the May 1st deadline, after that, we will be charging the late fee for everyone. So I want to make sure that everyone gets their registrations in. Sharon O'Connell in the central office and myself are more than happy to assist in any way possible. If anybody has any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to either one of us, and we'd be happy to help. Okay. And then moving on, we've been talking a while about helping our own fund gift account to work on removing financial barriers for our students in Auburn. The class of 2001 has made a gift donation to benefit the Helping Our Own Fund to assist and support reducing financial barriers for Auburn students. I would ask that you vote to accept this money from the Auburn High School class of 2001 to be deposited in a gift account for this purpose and used at the discretion of the district administrators to support students in need with the approval of the superintendent.
I would entertain that motion.
Make the motion to accept the donation from the class of 2001 to be deposited in the Helping Our Own Fund gift account.
Second. Any discussion?
I have a question. What is the amount of the donation?
It's roughly, it's like $1,600 that they've given us. I don't have the exact number checked, but I know it's right around $1,600, and that'll be deposited into the gift account. What I've been doing is trying to work with some of the classes to close out the account in the student activities, and so I've been talking with some of the older classes that have some monies and trying to encourage them that if they would like to donate, as opposed to taking the funds out to start their own accounts for their class. And people have been very receptive to the idea, and it coincides with our new policy that we've recently accepted for the school committee to, to close out those accounts within 6 months after they graduate, and to donate the monies if they wish not to take the monies. So I was really excited to hear that, and I might have a few other classes coming forward as well. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it's a great thing, and I think it'll be good for our students, and I'm really excited. Moving.
All in favor?
Oh, yes, you do. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Aye. There's a vote.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to the Massachusetts School Breakfast Challenge. Dr. Burnell recently received notification from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education that Bryn Mawr School is one of the Massachusetts School Breakfast Challenge champions, having achieved the breakfast participation goals set forth in the challenge. Bryn Mawr is one of 47 districts across the Commonwealth to do so, with a 25.07% participation rate. At this time, I'd like to express my thanks and kudos to Mrs. Janice King and her food service staff at Bryn Mawr Elementary School, namely Mrs. Nicoletta Comely and Mrs. Patricia Barkas. They work really hard with the students, and they have a great program going there, so we're very excited about that.
Great, congratulations to them.
Thank you.
Thank you for that report. And we do need to go into executive session. I would entertain that motion.
To have executive session? I couldn't hear you, Judge. I'll make the motion for Mass General Law, Chapter 30, Section 21A2, to conduct strategies for negotiations with union and non-union personnel, and per Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote. Ms. Holloway?
Yes.
Ms. Kaufman?
Yes.
Ms. Harrington?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Mr. Scobie? Yes. Good night, everyone.